In this video, I'm going to explain the things that I would have explained in the lesson today. You should have finished the following exercises of chapter 10 from 6 to 26. And the new task for this week is to make exercise 28 until 42 of chapter 10. And be careful because you don't have to make every exercise. If you have questions about the previous exercises of the homework, please send me an email. My address is dbr@jpthijssen.nl. I hope that we have a team this week, and with the team we can also chat if you have questions. But for now, it's only you can only send me an email if you have a question. Okay, well, in this lesson, I would like to explain exercise C3 and exercise 18. And I'm going to explain something about formulas and equations. And after this video, you should be able to do exercise 28 until 35. I would like you to check your homework that you made, so until 26. And you can check your homework with your own solutions book, or you can click here on Notebook on the tab Solutions Homework, and you can find all the solutions of chapter 10 until 27. So the new task is not here yet, but you can check your homework. And if you checked your homework, then please make a photo of your homework and upload it on OneNote in your own notebook. And I made it's called Homework Check. So please upload your photos of your homework and first check it. Okay, after this video, you should be able to know what an equation is, and you should know how to solve an equation. It looks like a formula, but it's not really the same, so I'm going to explain that. Okay, so if you don't have questions about C3, you could skip this part of the video, but maybe it's good to check if you did it all right. Okay, so shorten the formulas that you see over here. Well, I'm going to do C3C. First of all, we learned how to do the order of operations, and first you should do the brackets. So copy the whole thing, 4 to the power of 3 times r plus, and then you calculate this plus, and then we have 5 squared, because negative 2 plus 7 is 5, minus 3 to the power of 4 times r, minus, and then we have 2 times negative 3 is negative 6 to the power of 3. Okay, now you can calculate the powers. So 4 to the power of 3 is 4 times 4, that's 16 times 4 is 64. And you can also immediately leave the multiplication sign, leave it out, so you can do the r after the 64. Plus 5 squared is 25, minus 3 to the power of 4, that's 81. And we have 81 times r, so you can leave the multiplication sign, so minus 81r minus, and then we have negative 6 to the power of 3, which means negative 6 times negative 6 times negative 6, and that is minus, and then we have minus 216. Okay, so it's a little bit shorter, but it's not short enough. So I is 64r plus 25 minus 81r, and then we have plus 216, because two minuses behind each other, that's the same as a plus. Okay, now we can see 4 terms, and these 2 terms have the same variable because they have the letter r, the variable r, And these two terms, they are also, well, they belong to each other because they both don't have a letter or a variable. We call it a variable, not a variable. Okay, and we can take the terms with the same variable together. So we have 64r and then negative 81r. The minus over here belongs to the 81 because it never belongs to a number in front of it, because you never say 25 minus, but you can say negative 81r. So you calculate 64r minus 81, and then you get negative 17r. And then we have from left to right plus 25, so it's a positive number, the 25. And then we have plus 216, and then if you add that, you get 241. So this is the shortest way to write this formula. These are a lot of steps. You have to be specific. You should be able to skip one of these two steps because they are really the same, instead of the, well, you only have the difference between the two negative signs and the plus. So, but you have to write down a certain amount of steps because I need to see what you're doing. Okay, question 18 is also part of your homework, but I want to discuss it. The table on the right shows the relation between the number of hours worked, X, it's on top of the table, and the total cost, Y, in euros. So this is the outcome, which is always at the bottom of the table. Calculate Y when X is 5 and when X is 10. Okay, well, what we see in the table is that it goes from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. So steps of 1 over here. And at the bottom you can see that it goes from 8 to 10 to 12 to 14 to 16. So you can see that it adds with 2 every time. So if you go to step 5, one step further, then it should be 18. So for x is 5, y is 18. Okay, well, and then you can continue. From 5 to 10 is 5 steps to the right, and then per step it goes up with 2. So 10 steps further, 5 steps to the right is 10 steps up, so it should be 28. So x is 10, y is 28. Explain what you calculated in A. Well, you calculated that x is the hours of the worked hours, and y is the total cost in euros. So you calculated that if you work 5 hours, the total costs are 18 euros. And you calculated that if you work 10 hours, the costs are 28 euros. Okay, so question C, the formula y is something x plus something corresponds to this table. Complete the formula. In a formula, you always need two numbers in a linear formula, a starting value and the change per unit. And the change per unit, that is 2 over here, because every step to the right it will goes up with 2. And after the change per unit, you will add the variable, which is x over here. So your formula starts with 2x and then plus the starting value, and that is 8, because, well, underneath the 0, you can find the starting value. So this is your formula. And you can check that because if you add number 2 for x, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 plus 8 is 12, and that is what you can see over here in the formula. And now for D, you can use your formula to calculate how much 7.5 hours of work costs, because x is the number of hours, so y is 2 times 7.5 plus 8, and then it becomes 2 times 7.5 is 15 plus 8, and that is 23. So it costs you 23 euros to work 7.5 hours. Okay, I hope this is clear to you, and if not, then please let me know. Okay, the last part of this video. Formulas and equations. Over here you can see a formula, and a formula always has two variables. The variables over here are c and n, because those are the letters. And the formula has two terms, 3n and 10. Over here you can see almost the same formula, but the difference is that you don't have a c anymore. The variable c is gone, and it's replaced with a 40. So 40 is 3n plus 10. If you fill in a number instead of the variable in the outcome, then it becomes an equation. So an equation always has one variable. Over here it's the n, and the formula always have two variables. And now we can solve the equation, and that means that you are going to try to find the value of the letter, the value of the variable, in this case n. And you can do this as follows. You place a card over the term with a variable. So you cover this with your hand, for example. And then you can see 40 is something plus 10. Well, if you think logically, then you can say, okay, well, if this card is 30, then it's correct because 30 plus 10 is 40. So if 3n is the same as 30, then your equation is correct because 40 is the same as 30 plus 10. So we can replace 3n with 30. Okay, and if you're going to solve the equation, so we're solving this, then you have to find the value of the letter n. 3n, well, actually that's 3 times n is 30. So 3 times something is 30. So if n is 10, then it's correct because 3 times 10 is 30. So we solve the equation, and our solution is n is 10. And you can check that because if you fill in the n in your equation, then you should calculate 40 is the same as 3 times 10 plus 10. And that is correct. So an example in your book, well, 28, that's something you have to do. You can see formulas over here because they have two variables, a b and a t, and you can make an equation out of it if you change the t for 42, for example. So then you get 8b plus 10 is 42. Okay, now you can place a card over your term with your variable. So 8b should be something plus 10 is 42, so 8b should be 32. 8 times something is 32. Well, then your b should be 4, because 8 times 4 is 32. And you can check that. 8 times 4 plus 10, and that is 42, so that's correct. Okay, I hope this is clear. You can find also a theory block in your book over here. So please try to make the exercises. If you don't understand it, read the theory, and please ask me questions per email. It doesn't matter to me if you have to send a lot of emails, because it's only important to me that you can do your homework. And if you need 10 emails for that, well, that's okay. So send me an email if you have questions. So for now, you should be able to solve equations, and you should know what an equation is. And in short, it's just a formula, and the outcome is replaced by a number. And then you can solve the equations to find the value of the variable. Good luck!